the Raiders and the Giants playing the tank battle here in Vegas. Wow. They're lucky that this game was a dual split. That was only 2 games on, a doubleheader this afternoon, because I did watch this more than I thought I would. But yeah, the Raiders lose, but they potentially win. Just lose, baby. Talked about this with Sheil. I think this is okay. 80% chance of getting the first overall pick now. And the Giants, and I do think, they win this game 34-10. I don't know what to make of this game. I thought there's some stuff happening on offense, at least, a couple nice plays on the offense, but also thought, Jackson Dart had a very Jackson Dart game. I think that's the best way to put it. Andrew Thomas is sitting out because this was a tank battle. Max Crosby's on IR late. Well, he was out and then IR, and then he just posts himself on Instagram shooting baskets with his kids, which was which is just amazing. Where do you want to go for this one, Chuck? I want to get your thoughts on this game, because I don't know, man. This was something.
Dude, I'll say this. Max being absolutely just repulsively sick that he couldn't play in this game between the Raiders and the Giants is peak Matt Crosby. Because I remember when I was in Vegas for the first year of the Pro Bowl games, like where they flipped it to like dodgeball and everything, every player was like, no, this is definitely better than the game, except for one person I talked to, Max Crosby. He was like, nope, I'd rather be playing a real football game right now against the best players in the world. I was like, okay, you're the only person here saying that. I hope you know that. So the fact that he was upset about not being able to play in this game, not all too surprising, but holy crap, the Raiders, you just got to get to the end of the season. One more game.
Oh my God, right.
I don't even know what to say on their front. Like it was that bad. Because like you said, the Bills Eagles game, to me, that's probably more of a one that's probably going to be more fun to watch on the All 22. Not the most enthralling like live the live game to watch. So I was watching both at the same time, and it just felt like punishment every time the Raiders had the ball, because we've seen this Giants team. I mean, they're not very good, and they really didn't have too much of a problem just completely snuffing out the Raiders' offense today. They held the Raiders to 28% success rate. Man, just 10 points. You scored 10 points against one of the worst teams in the league. I'm looking at like the Raiders and the Jets. I'm like, dude, where do you even start here? Like in the offseason, where do you possibly start with how far away you are from actually being competitive? And man, like Mendoza or Dante.
I love a good tankathon graphic, by the way. I love the conversation when the tankathon graphic comes up here. I'm sorry, I look up and I saw that. I just
I'll say two things. I'll say two things. Mendoza or Dante Moore, whoever gets picked by the Raiders, God bless you, man. That's going to be a really tough job, tough turnaround. It's probably not going to be a pretty rookie season. Because they're just barren on offense. And the Giants, I don't know if that game makes you safe, Jackson. I'm not quite sure if that game makes you 100% safe, because you still have the number 2 overall pick. And quite frankly, I just don't think that if you're looking at beating the Raiders as a form of like, oh, we've made like some real progress here after you threw for 13 yards last week against an actual good team in the Vikings is if that should really sell you on that, I would imagine that depending on where they fall, if they hit the maybe if they hit the 3rd or the 4th pick, we'll probably hear less about the Giants potentially picking a quarterback. But there were reports about it this morning, and I'm not sure that you should jump off of that just because you beat the Raiders. So I know Giants fans weren't happy with me for saying that. I'm going to say it again. We're probably going to see them at least rumored to look at a quarterback, because Joe Schoen's going to need to save his job, and that's one of the easiest ways to get the job extension button,
The fact that Ian Rappaport reported that,
right,
that's more smoke than usual, and
agreed.
They said they're assessing everything, including, and they didn't just say it, we're assessing everything. They said we're assessing everything, including the quarterback position. And so it's like, oh, okay. The fact that was mentioned. And then I think it was Joe Schoen. Joe Schoen wasn't even like, I think he is safe though, or he was not included in that. I don't know. I got to
he's safe. He's safe somehow. Joe Schoen's safe somehow. I'm not quite sure. It's just John Mara, man. He can't rip it all the way off. You got to rip the Band-Aid all the way off, dude. And ultimately, if you're looking at this from a long-term perspective, Jackson Dart, I know you traded up for him, but you didn't trade away future first, and he was only the 25th pick in the draft. Like, his contract is 4 years, $16 million. That's not anything that's difficult to move off of in today's NFL, especially if the cap's going to keep going up. And I mean, even if the cap wasn't going up, it's something you could eat if you really wanted to move on.
Money.
Right, yeah. Backup quarterback money. So we'll see what happens there.
I think if it is the same GM and the same scouting staff, and if I still am trying to figure out whose Dart's pick was. I think, I thought it was a joint effort because of Shane had the connections to Ole Miss. Dable had connections to Ole Miss as well because of some of the coaches there. I think Joe Judge was there. I think Charlie Weiss he has a connection with, and Charlie Weiss Jr. And so right now it's kind of a passing the buck player. Like, all right, no, this was your guy. So it's gonna be what the smoke that comes out the next weeks, the months is gonna be very kind of interesting about them and what they actually think, because they're still at the number 2 pick. And I think there are 2 QBs that are above everybody else. I'm not the only one that thinks that. And we don't know if Deontay Moore's declaring, but I think he will, because I just think no matter what, he's locked in as a top 10 pick. That's just too much to pass up. So, but even if it is Mendoza Bowl, but there's people that like more. I will say that there are people that like more than Mendoza. I think it's just that the Giants have to trust their scouting. I think everybody, even the consensus, I had a 3rd round grade on him, including a bunch of other quarterbacks in this class, that if they were similar, which I think they were, more of a day 2 grade on him, and you moved up for him because you overdraft quarterbacks, and they're not the only ones that have ever done that, but don't you trust your scouting and say, well, this guy, either Mendoza or Moore, are 1st round guys, top 20 guys, top 15 guys, however you consider that, true lottery pick types. So it's one of those where, isn't that what the natural answer is, to get the guy that you are going to consider has a higher peak, or a guy that you think is going to be a different threshold? I don't know if they consider that. Every team is different. I mean, some teams considered, Drake May undraftable because they thought he was just, I don't know. They thought footwork was uncoachable or something like that, even though it didn't matter. But you just don't know with these teams and how they consider guys. But to me, as a kind of an outside observer and how I grade these guys, I consider Mendoza more clearly better tier-wise than Dart was as a prospect. What's Dart's shown as a player is really fun scrambler, really fun runner, can whip some out routes and stuff outside. Over the middle, he's a big work in progress. Against the blitz, he's a big work in progress throwing the ball. I think man coverage, he can find decent answers. Like, he's got a good arm. Everything kind of still comes out late. And that's where I get a little worrisome or worried about watching him, because I wanted that to get quicker, because that shows that his mental side's getting quicker, then the accuracy and everything else speeds up because the footwork speeds up. But any true passing situation, so 3rd and long, 2nd and long, he kind of sets up plays like the pocket like it's a punt return. And the quarterback that reminds me that used to do that was Cordell Stewart. That's the guy that used to play like that, where it was like, I'm dead serious, man. Watch Cordell Stewart back in the day. Watch these 2nd and long. Like, Dart had a scramble today on 2nd and 14. It was a good scramble. Don't get me wrong. But how he looks, he drops back. He's not even looking at a route. He's just looking at the rushing lanes and just bouncing. And then he goes, whoop, and then because he can run. But it's like, you can't live that way. And I think Mendoza and Moore are already right now at a younger age better throwers than what Dart is. So to me, and with enough athletic ability to create a little bit, I think just their long-term outlook is more, there's just more ceiling to it. There's a higher ceiling to it. Yes, Dart's rushing ability gives him something, but I just think long-term success, franchise guy, I don't know. The other guys are just a little bit more appetizing to me. They make more sense in my brain. So I don't know. That's the logic I consider of it. Anything else in this game, though? That's my rant. Raiders had a nice drive and immediately surrendered a kick return touchdown to Deontay Banks, who immediately got a taunting penalty, which was, again, perfect for this game. Let's just move on from here. I know it's more Mendoza. It's going to be a lot of talk about these two for the next couple of weeks. It's an interesting draft. There's no consensus at any position. Like, there is none. Everyone likes Avril Reese from Ohio State. I can tell you that.
That's about
Everyone
it.
likes Caleb Downs. That's about it.
Yeah. I still get people telling me, we watched the Big Ten championship game. People say Mendoza sucks. So whatever. I mean, if Moore comes out, I don't really understand how this is supposed to be a worse quarterback class than like normal. I mean, thinking two guys have a chance to be franchise quarterbacks, is that really any worse than any other year? If like two guys make it out and can get, I don't really understand the kind of the crying about this. It's not like it's the Kenny Pickett draft or like the EJ Manuel draft. No. You got two guys that are bona fide top 5 picks if they come out. That's really not that bad.
Yeah. I called Moore Dante Moore, Deontay Banks. But I agree with that. I think that's kind of the true first round guys. That's the thing too, is there's always kind of a reverse retcon that happens sometimes. Oh, that guy got drafted in the first round. It's like, yeah, but he maybe shouldn't have. And that's what we got to remember is some of the pre-draft stuff should weigh on some of this. Like, and I think I know what guys actually get selected, but like grades matter too. And some guys, of course, outplay grades and they do so much better. But a lot of guys, it's like, I mean, I would consider Penix. I'm going to bring up Nix, those JJ McCarthy. Those guys to me were day 2 guys that got, there's inflation with these quarterbacks. But then now we get into this class and we get into, Dart. But look at the class before that. So then it was Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson. And I think it was, I would say the only guy that was, so Young and Stroud are more or less considered like locked in first rounders, but they had blemishes. I was a Stroud QB1 guy, but then Richardson, I liked a lot too, but I would say that pick 4 was an overdraft. But that's the thing is like, so what's that? 2.5 quarterbacks we'll call. Okay. That seems like a normal QB draft class to me. And I think the class from a few years ago that went with 6 QBs, yeah, a couple of those guys got overdrafted. I would say only 3 were locked in first rounders. Unless how you consider McCarthy or Nix or Penix or anything. But anyways, the consensus matters as well.